Okay, well, welcome everyone. It's 5:30, and welcome to Alumni Career Talks, Breaking in the Entertainment Industry. My name is Michelle Levy, and I'm the Assistant Director of Graduate Business Career Services. We are a subset of the Career Development Center, where we work primarily with our graduate business students, but also, wanted to make this a program available to undergraduate students, as there's a lot of great information if you are interested in the entertainment industry. How the program's going to work today is we have questions here for Jose to answer to share his experience. And if you have any questions, you can chat them into the chat box, and I'll be able to facilitate that conversation with Jose. But before we get started, I did want to give a brief bio about Jose, as well as a thank you for being here today to share his experience. After serving in the United States Marine Corps, Jose graduated with a BS in accounting and began his career in the entertainment industry, working at CBS News 60 Minutes. In 2005, Jose started a consulting business dedicated to providing ERP consulting to the entertainment industry and landed a contract with Sony Pictures. During the last 15 years, he has supported Sony, Comcast Universal, and Warner Brothers. Currently, Jose is the acting director of accounting for Sony Pictures Theatrical, and he received his MBA from Cal State Long Beach in 2016. So, thank you again, Jose, for being here and for sharing your experience as an alumnus of the university. And again, we're super appreciative to have you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you for having me.
Perfect. So we'll get started. And again, I have questions prepared, but any of the students on the line, if you have any questions, feel free to chat them into the chat box. We'll get started with, I know I gave, the bio about you, but is there anything else you think that's important for the students to know about yourself and how you got started in the entertainment industry?
Not necessarily. I actually talked to a couple of colleagues about how they started their career in the entertainment industry. And for the most part, most of them, they just kind of like fell into it. But I'm an accountant. So in accounting, we basically, our career basically can take us anywhere. But when you live in Los Angeles, there's a 80 to 90% chances that you're going to be working somewhere near the entertainment industry.
Nice. So kind of being in the general area, in accounting, you can be in a lot of different industries, but you've stayed in the entertainment industry, so you've probably enjoyed it to some extent there.
When in Rome, do
Yeah,
Romans do.
definitely. So what are some skill sets or experiences that you think are essential for students to know if they want to work in the entertainment industry?
In the end, I think one of the most important skill sets that you can actually bring into the entertainment industry is a good attitude. Um, as you know, there are many different phases on supporting and being part of the entertainment industry. My background is in accounting and finance, so I'm mostly on the back end. People don't get to see us, they don't know who we are, but we provide a critical role to the industry. We are the individuals that are in charge of making sure that when we put a product out there, we can actually go and get the revenue that we were expecting and that we account for all of the expenditures associated with that product. But in each and every one of the phases of the entertainment industry, you're going to have a lot of challenges and not everything goes according to plan. So attitude, being very positive, I think that's one of the most important skill sets that you can actually bring into the industry.
Yeah, so being, and especially because it is a hard industry to get into.
It is, it is, it is. Depending on the area, I will say that here in California, if your background is marketing, finance, and accounting, you may have an easier way to get into. But if you want to get into the talent portion of it, that's when the challenge comes in. Or if you want to be part of the whole production run is actually working to the production of the product, that's where, because we do have quite a bit of demand for those jobs.
Definitely. So, How can students stand out during an interview with an entertainment organization, seeing that they are probably interviewing a lot of different people for the roles?
I will have to go back in reference to attitude, be enthusiastic about the industry. That's one of the things that we enjoy when we are in the process of interviewing. We want the individuals to know who we are, right? It may seem like it's common knowledge that everybody understands what the entertainment industry is all about, but the reality is that you do have to kind of like come in, and just forgive me for a second, I just got an email basically addressing me. You have to come in with a basic understanding of what the industry is all about, and that's key.
How would students gain that knowledge to get an understanding of like what the industry is all about?
So this is a fight that I always have with my wife. My wife doesn't want my kids to watch TV as much. We only had a certain amount of TV time for the kids. But one of the things that I think helps me a great deal with the entire entertainment industry is knowing the products. We know that one of the main products that we have is films, followed by TV shows, right? And if you kind of like start understanding basically how does that product come about, that helps a great deal. A lot of the people, I will say 80 to 90% of the people that work in the industry, you can have a conversation, not just about many different types of films, but about the history, the actors, the producers, everybody that is involved, and some of the kind of like little behind the scenes type of stories.
Okay, so make sure that you kind of know who you're interviewing with, know what they do, kind of have a good understanding and not just like, oh, I just want to work in the entertainment industry, be very specific about your
Yes,
research.
yes. In accounting, in finance, we manage a lot of different intellectual properties. That's what we actually refer to. And everybody wants to know if you understand which movie was produced when and where. In accounting, one of the things that we actually do is we manage libraries, right? And you will bump into a situation where you're going to have a title with two or maybe three different versions of that title, right? They just remake them. So in the industry, it's always known if you understand, I can't remember what title that has been done a couple of times, but Ghostbusters is one of them just came up. There's two different versions of Ghostbusters. It's the same title, right? So, if you really want to have a good conversation, talk about the original one version and the new version of that. And
Hmm.
that helps a great deal. And you will probably bump into a lot of interviews. That will be some of the questions that we ask you. I do remember one time interviewing with Disney, and at the end of the interview, they asked me, can you name some of the top 5 gross titles for Disney in the past 20 years? And I
Okay.
just happened to know them, but yes.
Yeah, so you gotta have knowledge, kind of have those films in your back repertoire
Yes,
of kind of
it
research and
is the
whatnot.
product. That's how we make our money.
Definitely, definitely. And I know the students on the call are interested in the entertainment industry, and some might be interested in finance and accounting. So, if you could maybe tell me a little bit about like what does your typical day look like for you in your position, and what are aspects of the position you enjoy, and what are aspects that are challenging?
Um, the challenging part, I always kind of like have to start with that one because that's the one that keeps me up at night. And right now, as you know, COVID-19 has had a major impact on our industry, right? We have had a lot of every year, it's just like an assembly line. We have a certain amount of titles that are getting ready to be released. And we keep that into inventory for a year and a half. But if there's no one going to the theaters, then what do we do with that product, right? So that's what I'm going through right now. It's like, well, we were supposed to release Monster Hunters. That was supposed to be released in December. We were expecting to collect so much amount of revenue on that, but there's nobody at the movie theaters. How are we going to do this? So we kind of like have to start playing around with the markets. You know, I work for Theatrical International. So COVID-19 has had a major impact here and in Europe, but we still have a lot of movie theaters open in New Zealand, Australia, and some of the Asian countries. So we still trying to keep the ball rolling in those areas. So my typical day is basically waking up in the morning and answering a ton of emails, going back and forth, trying to ask and research about some of the products. We do a lot of projections and estimates. And just to give you a little insight about the theatrical industry, if we have a title and we are projecting to get XYZ amount of revenue on that, one way that we can actually increase those projections is by investing a lot more money on marketing and advertisement. The more we advertise the product, the more we actually can get people out to the movie theaters, and then that will be increasing our box office. So we do a lot of calculations based on that. But because of COVID-19, we never been here. So how do we increase footprint in the Asian countries? So those are some of the type of day-to-day activities that I have to deal with. And then running different reports, doing different analysis, looking at different key performance indicators, and providing a lot of answers.
Yes, thank you. And you touched on COVID-19, like how it's impacted your industry. Have you seen like budget cuts or hiring freezes, or what is that? What do you feel like that looks like for the entertainment industry right now?
Challenging. As a matter of fact, I just had in preparation for this meeting, I just had a conversation with a friend of mine who was leading the HBO Max transition for Warner Brothers. Unfortunately, he was impacted by the budget cuts. But then there's a couple of things that are going on with the industry. Prior to COVID-19, Warner Brothers was acquired by AT&T, and AT&T, is basically trying to utilize synergies, right? So they, once you hear the word synergies, you understand that eventually they're going to be cut. But COVID-19 accelerated a lot of that stuff. So right now we are seeing the industry changing dramatically, right? But at the same time, there are new opportunities. And one of the new opportunities happening to the industry is what we are referring to direct-to-consumer products. So HBO Max is one of those platforms in which in the old days, we will basically create a channel and we will work with the cable operators, not just here in the United States, but worldwide. And we will negotiate with them on different price tiers and different products that we will put in their platforms. But now Netflix kind of like came to the picture and they basically changed the entire infrastructure. So now we want to take advantage of that new opportunity. So a lot of the major studios are creating a new platform. So in one end, the industry is changing, it's closing all doors and all ways of doing business. But at the same time, there are new opportunities in the horizon. We have new players. Apple right now is opening operations here in Culver City. Amazon is also doing direct to consumer, and HBO is also opening new opportunities in Culver City. Culver City is becoming the hub for the digital entertainment industry.
Yeah, definitely. I know I saw some of those studios that they were building, pre-COVID-19, and
Yes.
yeah, just the whole, even the Silicon Valley-esque in that Marina Del Rey kind of area is now.
And COVID-19 is not going to impact it. If anything, COVID-19 accelerated the direct-to-consumer product.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about direct-to-consumer these days.
Basically, yes.
People aren't going to the movies as much. They're staying home. And does the industry think that will still stay even after COVID
So one of the most fascinating thing about these new platforms is we are starting to see that there is a new generation of consumers that they are no longer going to the linear type of consumption. They are basically doing the whole on demand, meaning that my kids, I'll give you as an example, my kids really don't know what live TV is anymore. They literally just go on Netflix or whatever, even YouTube is becoming a big player. And if they want to see a show on demand, they just play on the show and they can just watch as many as they want. So that is making, the industry kind of like going back and says, okay, so how are we going to build this new business model? So it's a lot of good opportunities. It's fascinating, and we just need to adapt to this consumer demand.
Yeah, so I think you just bring up a good point that there are going to be those, those general kind of job titles in the entertainment industry, but there might even be jobs in the next couple of years that we don't even know the titles for yet. It'll be just a whole new, kind of industry overall, right? As these changes are kind of coming about and whatnot. So
yes,
always good to.
One of the biggest complaint for somebody who wants to break in the talent side of the entertainment industry, they want to, put their movies out there. One of the things that the biggest complaint in the entertainment industry was that there were so many different ideas coming into a production side that only a few of them will make it. And most of the movies that will make it to the silver screen were not really titles that were fascinating to the consumer, right? But we having all these different platforms now, the talent, the creative people can actually pitch to different studios. And as you can see, Netflix has changed that. There are titles that at no point in time they would have made it into, even made for TV versions. But because Netflix is looking for content, they are basically greenlighting a lot of these ideas. And now all of a sudden we are starting to see that it's like, oh my God, we have a lot of different products out there. I mean, what we produce here in Hollywood has a worldwide audience. And so that is also creating this other opportunity for new ideas, new storylines that we people want to hear and see.
Yeah, so hopefully with more of it, there'll be more opportunities for students. So
That's what I'm hoping.
And we do have a question. Someone wanted to know, how do they get their foot in the door? So with that, I mean, even as you interview people, like what makes you hire them to be part of the entertainment industry, or how could these students just get a foot in the door into this competitive industry?
The industry is very competitive, but they also have a lot of different opportunities. Now, one of the things that we actually do in the summer, many years ago, we actually used to hire a lot of interns, and most of them were not paid. But within the past couple of years that has actually changed. That is opening a big door for individuals that want to not only work in the industry, but understand where do they want to go in. We have individuals who have very generic degrees, liberal art degrees that they don't have a major concentration on, but they want to come in and get an experience of what the entertainment industry is all about, and they get to work in different areas in different departments. I know at Sony, we do have an internship program, and not only that we have an internship program, but we also have a mentoring program where, an individual can come in and rotate into different areas so they can get a feel of what different, all of these supporting jobs can be. If you want to be a production assistant, we have those opportunities. So I always recommend anybody who is like undergraduate and wants to actually get their foot on the door, look at all of the different entertainment internship programs that are available at all of the major studios. And I can actually be a resource for that if anybody wants to be, get an interview or try to get into the industry. Networking will become your number one resource, right? I'm having these conversations with you, but now you already know somebody that works at Sony Pictures. And I know people that work in other different studios. So if Sony Pictures is too small for you and you want to go to Warner Brothers, I can probably reach out to somebody at Warner Brothers, and you can have a conversation with them and then start networking into trying to get one of those opportunity. Once you get your foot in the door, then, you start, evaluating whether this is something that you want to do or something that you may want to consider for a different point in your career.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned networking. Was networking really important for you in your career, and what did that look like for you for networking?
So networking is extremely important for me because if in the introduction, you notice that I actually created my own business, right? And my own business was very unique, tailored to the entertainment industry. So in order for me to get opportunities or know different projects in different studios, I have to know key players in each industry that would let me know, hey, you know what? I work in the what we call ERP, enterprise resource management, which is basically a sophisticated word for saying I work in accounting systems. And that's a big project, it's a big capital expenditure project. And in order for me to actually get my foot on the door and be able to, provide my services, I have to know people within the industry that might be, working in those departments. And as a matter of fact, I was working at Warner Brothers. And one of the reasons why I was able to come back at Sony was because I knew friends or people that I work with at Warner Brothers that moved to Sony, and they called me up and said, hey, we got this thing going on. Will you be interested? And I'm like, of course I will be. That's like a 10-minute commute from my house as opposed to an hour and a half in Burbank.
Mm-hmm. So, like, is networking, because I feel like when students hear the word networking, it can be a little overwhelming. Is that really just for you having conversations with people, or is that going to events, or even in this virtual time, like, how are you networking?
Events. That's one source. The entertainment industry has a lot of events during the year, and most of them are for people who are already within the network. I know different interest groups within the entertainment industry hold events every year. Um, there's the Hispanic Association of people in the industry, they hold events, the Black Association, specific different groups hold this type of events. And that's one way of networking within. But to me personally, the way I always develop my network is by, having that interaction, common interaction with some individuals that you get along with. And then you start basically, building a good, honest friendship as well as a good, honest network community. Most of the people in my network are individuals that I consider not just network partners, but also friends, individuals that I feel very comfortable and I have that special connection with. You got to always remember, people are always looking for talent. They're always looking for qualified individuals. And if somebody were to come up to me and ask me, hey, I'm looking for somebody who's good in analytics. Do you know anyone? And I basically will have to say, I know a couple of people who are interested. I never worked with them, but here's their resume, here's the contact information. And so on the networking part of it, I know this is a challenging thing for a lot of individuals, but the easiest way to network is to find relationship with people you're comfortable with, and then just keep building those relationships. We all have this common knowledge and understanding that yes, in order for us to survive in the industry, we have to know someone, right? And it's not just getting your foot in the door, it's also navigating your career within the organization. Right? You have to be at the right ministry. You have to know the right people. So it's a little bit tricky, political, but the way I done it is by always being honest with myself and letting people know that who I am. Right? Some people may not like me. Not everybody's gonna like you, but some people may appreciate my personality.
Yeah, so I think you bring up a good point of like, just it's just building a relationship and maintaining a relationship with someone, and also finding people that are going to help you, pass along your resume to people, kind of
Hmm.
be that champion for you. And
Yeah.
I think you also bring up a good point of like you have to network to get into the industry, but then also to, kind of build your career within the industry as you've
Hmm.
demonstrated that that's what you've done to, work at the different entertainment corporations that you've worked at
Hmm.
overall. So knowing that, networking's important. And then once you get that interview, so I'm sure in your position, you've interviewed a lot of people, kind of hired a bunch of people. Like, I know you've mentioned like attitude in the past that has kind of shown out to you. But what are other things that you've seen students or people do in an interview that's really impressed you or maybe not impressed you?
Um, well, the easiest thing is if you don't have a good attitude, that interview is going to be very short. What do I mean by having a good attitude? Showing up late, um, not being prepared. That's one of those type of things that we always are constantly looking at. And always remember when we say that first impression counts. Um, if you are on your way to an interview, and I always tell this because it happened to me as a person that was going for an interview and I was waiting for somebody to interview. Um, if just remember, as soon as you park your car and you start walking on the lot and you're getting ready to go to whatever place you're going to be interviewing with, um, you don't know who's who and what's what, right? And if you're having a terrible day, because it happens, uh, interviews can be very stressful and challenging sometimes. But if you prepare yourself, that whole process of getting up from your car and walking into the office, that can be a positive experience, right? But if for some reason you look like you're stressful and you don't want to be there, and you kind of like it will show. It will show in the interview. So take your time, be relaxed, walk in there because that energy that you bring in, positive or negative, we're going to notice,
Hmm.
right? And we're always looking for the positive energy, right? Because that hiring decision is basically, I don't want to say for life, but it's a long-term investment on our part, and it's a long-term investment on your part. So we want to make sure that we are hiring the right person, and you want to make sure that you are going into the right department,
Hmm.
right? And from my perspective, I want to make sure that you bring in that energy. From your perspective, from the interviewer perspective, you want to make sure that you're not walking into a chaos situation, an environment that is toxic, right?
Hmm.
You could see that by that energy that is provided. And not to say that everything in the entertainment industry is positive. There are some departments that are very chaotic and have some toxic, so you have to be careful for that.
Hmm. Definitely. And on the lines of like interview, even before the interview, there's the resume and cover letter. So, do you have any suggestions or tips of like, what would stand out in the entertainment industry in the resume cover letter that you've seen, kind of come your way?
So I I know everybody in the old days, everybody always talked about your cover letter. I never really look at cover letters. We are in a fast-paced environment. And in a fast-paced environment, we know we work on the job description. We're going to post the job description. So we work on the details behind that. So we know what we're looking for. There are certain key phrases within your resume that will tell me whether you have what it takes to get into the industry. If I am looking for somebody that just is coming out of college, I'm looking for attitude. I'm looking for, your grades. Obviously, that would be very important. Also, your accomplishment, your extracurricular activity, all of those little things. Because I already know a hand that you don't have a lot of working experience. So, but can you come in and can you learn the job and how easy it is for you to pick up things? Those are the kind of things that I'm like reading out. Um, So the cover letter is not something that I look into. I'm mostly interested in your story. You know, tell me, what is it that you're going to bring into this situation that's going to help me, right? Can you pick up things really fast? Is it going to take long for you? I'm in a very analytical, detailed environment. So those are some of the key things that I'm looking for individuals. Somebody is attention to detail, analytical. But key to me is a good attitude, a positive attitude, because in the industry, everything is a challenge and we just need to overcome those challenges and provide solutions.
Hmm. Perfect. And so I know that you mentioned doing internships is a really great way to get your foot in the door in the entertainment industry. But there are some students on the line that, are studying for their MBA, their master's. They have a little bit more experience where maybe they wouldn't do an internship per se, or they're graduated. Do you have any recommendations for those students how to get in if internships aren't an option for them?
Yeah, for so individuals who are more senior, anybody doing the MBA program, um, there's always a lot. I mean, and this has been happening for the past, I guess, 15 to 20 years, where we do a lot of consulting work. In the old days, we used to call temps, right? And now I'm specifically talking about finance and accounting and maybe marketing. But there's three areas within the entertainment industry that are constantly looking for either consultants or temporary workforce. That will be IT, in marketing, anything that is web-based, driven, research, things in that nature. There's a lot of agencies that are actually looking for that. One area where a lot of the people, a lot of the recruiters within the industry are going to is LinkedIn, right? So make sure you not only prepare your resume, but you also get a good profile on LinkedIn, because a lot of us go in there and start looking for candidates, either on a permanent basis or on a temporary basis. So that's another aspect for somebody who's more senior. I know, just to give you an idea, once COVID-19 is over, a lot of the students are going to be needing resources, right? COVID-19 had a negative impact on the workforce, and a lot of the companies had to let go a lot of people. So we are basically overwhelmed and over challenged right now because we let go of a lot of people and a lot of us have to pick up that slack. But once COVID-19 is behind us and people start going back to the movie theaters and the demand for our product continues to go on the rise, we're going to be needing a lot of resources. And most of us, what we're going to do is we're going to start hiring people on a temporary basis. And eventually, over a period of time, those temporary jobs can actually turn into permanent positions. So that's something that I actually encourage people. I know right now it's like, it may look like a challenging time, because it is, but it's not gonna last forever. And is this one something positive? We are expecting to start picking things back up after June, September, that time frame.
Okay, so definitely be open to temporary positions as they may lead to full time, because oftentimes that's what people will do. They'll hire temporary to see, it's almost like an extended job interview to then
Exactly.
hire you full time. You've seen that a lot in like accounting, finance, and marketing, those areas. And just also have a really great LinkedIn profile, which I think is, good advice for, any industry that you want to go into,
Correct.
or any role within the entertainment industry that you want to go into.
Yes. Um,
Uh,
Always remember there's two sides of the story, right? Individuals looking for opportunities and then organizations looking for qualified candidates. And that is a challenge. If you're
mhm.
on the other side, you get a million resumes and you got to go through all of them and try to figure out which is that individual is going to be. We cannot interview a million individuals. It's only a handful. So how do you stand out?
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I know, you're probably getting a lot of resumes right now just with the job market and whatnot. So kind of taking that advice of, kind of sharing your story, making it, if you are in an analytical position, very analytical,
Mhm.
and just kind of showcasing your experience overall.
Correct.
And I know you mentioned a little bit previously, just like how there's a lot of work put on you right now, like with COVID-19, and probably people, departments that are tightening their belt or whatnot. But how would you just describe the culture of work, the culture of working in entertainment? Is it all work, no play, or is there a good work life balance? Like, what does that look like?
Fascinating question. But like in any industry, the environment is based on the leadership. So you can be within an organization and be working in a department that is very stressful, or you can be working in an environment that is maybe stressful but is fun because it has wonderful leadership. Or you can be in a department that can be chaotic, because the leadership is not well organized and doesn't have a solid foundation. So you're gonna find that within the industry, you know. In Sony Pictures, we have home entertainment, we have television, we have theatrical, domestic, international, animation. We have many different departments, and within those different departments, we have many different divisions. Um, I will say in general, just speaking some of the studios that I worked in general, the the environment is very positive and very driven. But if you are going into finance and accounting, you will find yourself, especially during this time, with a lot of challenges because we are what they consider back-end operations. So a lot of companies, when they start cutting, they start looking at those operations that are not bringing revenue, and they're the ones that get impacted the most. And when you start letting go of people, that means that whoever is left behind have to pick up all that slack. The
Hmm.
work is still going to be there, just because, especially in accounting, just because we are not getting people in at the movie theaters, that doesn't mean that the work is not there.
Yeah. So I feel like that's probably right now for just a lot of, positions and industries. But
It
I think
is.
you bring up a good point of, it kind of starts with leadership, right? And are there any like questions you think students could ask in an interview to kind of see, what the company culture is like at those different entertainment industries?
I think the standard question is, how did this position came about? um, that can lead into a lengthy conversation, and just pay attention to what the hiring manager is telling you. And there you can tell whether, the prior person just was not here long enough. Um, they had to get rid of him because they couldn't keep up with the workload, or they just got promoted,
Mhm.
right? A lot of those little detailed information can tell you a lot about the department and the organization. I always say, well, if the person that I'm interviewing for, the job that I'm interviewing for, if that individual is going to still be around and he's just vacating the position because got promoted, that's a good opportunity for me, because not only that I'm going to be able to walk in, but I'm also going to be able to tap into that resource for knowledge transfer, right?
Mhm.
And so that's a positive thing. If the position is available because somebody left, that means that the knowledge transfer is not going to be there. And then you kind of like question, well, why did the person leave? It used to be kind of like a good gauge in the old days, but nowadays, within the past 20 years, we do see a lot of turnover.
Mhm.
So just utilize it and don't make a big fuss about it, but that can tell you a lot of information.
Definitely. Like you mentioned too, like if they have promoted, then there's growth opportunities too, which is
Yes,
really important.
that's key.
So I know you talked a bit about direct to consumer. That's kind of the direction that the entertainment industry is going. But how else do you see the industry changing, or where do you see the industry going beyond the direct to consumer, or is that just the main way it's going?
That's $1 million question. Um, for for uh, for like 10 years, we've been debating whether um, doing theatrical releasing is realistic, right? Um, we used to have these long windows of putting a movie in the theatrical side of it, and it will stay there for like 3 months, and then 6 months later on, we will start creating um, the digital version of it, and then we will have another window where we put it into a cable operator. Um, but now that we have direct to consumer, now we are debating whether we should do simultaneous releases. And COVID-19 has accelerated that conversation. And Warner Brothers at this particular point in time, they decided that they're going to do both. They're going to release their title on the movie, the theater chain, but at the same time, they're going to put it on their platform. So then the question of cannibalization, now would they cannibalize in their product? And those are the things that we're experimenting right now. We're trying to see how we maximizing the windows and the different opportunities, right? I believe in March, Universal took one of their titles and went straight direct to consumer, and they were able to generate quite a bit of revenue, probably more revenue than if they would have gone theatrical, right? So we're still trying to figure out what the data is telling us. And so this staying at home is basically our sandbox to find out whether it's some, where the industry is going to. The direct to consumer is the area where we seeing the most amount of benefits because of two things, right? We can interact with the consumer. When we put our product in the different platforms, we get to talk to people and we get to see what the consumer wants. There's a lot of data that's coming our way, and that is giving us, we're utilizing that data to better fine tune the different products in the future. So that's one of the positive things. As I mentioned earlier on theatrical, if we wanted to increase the footprint at the movie theaters, we advertise more, right? But what is that going to look like in the digital era? Are we going to be able to reduce some of that overhead costs when we can just advertise on digital platforms? And then the logistic costs that go along with distributing our films in different movie theaters. So all of those different elements that come into play, and then we have to all basically absorb the data and run different models. And then that will be the guiding principle of where we're going to go with.
So stay tuned, right, to see where it all goes.
I kind of like went around just to basically tell you, we don't know.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of, industries, they don't know right now, right?
They don't know. But I'll tell you on a personal basis, Sony Pictures it has the entertainment arm, but it also has a electronic side of it, right? Technology is getting to the point where individuals can actually stay home and get the whole movie experience if you have the right equipment. And it's going to be just a matter of time where you're going to be able to have a 100-inch TV screen in your home with surround sound system, and you may want to if you're a father or mother, you may want to just keep the kids in the house and just rent a movie for like $29 or $39. If you do the math, $29, $39 a movie is way cheaper than taking 2-3 kids to the movie theaters. Right? That whole event is going to cost you quite a bit. So families may want to say, you know what, I just want to watch it at home. And so that will basically change the whole entire industry. And we're going through that battle right now. You know, when we produce a movie, we are actually creating all the type of businesses in the chain, in the movie chain industry is a big part of that. But if we start taking our product or basically putting the product in two different platforms at the same time, that's going to create some conflicts. So there's the reality from the demand of the consumer, but then there's also the other aspect of the industry, because it has multiple effects.
Yeah, it's a chain reaction overall. So
Yes.
so what is one thing you wish somebody would have told you before going into this industry?
It's there's not much that I regret from being in the industry. As a matter of fact, it's one of the most fascinating journeys I have enjoyed when it comes to careers, because I love the product, right? And it's a fascinating product. My career in entertainment has taken me to work behind the scenes of a news division, as well as an entertainment division. I actually got an opportunity to work for MTV Networks Latin America, and I got a chance to work behind the scenes and see how we develop those different shows. So it has been very rewarding. If there's anything that I would like people to have told me is, build your network from the beginning. I think that would be a key piece of information. I was not a natural building networks, and I just didn't know how positive and how powerful building a good, solid network was, along with a mentoring program, right? If you have a mentor, somebody that basically takes you underneath your wings, you can go further in your career. And you can be exposed to different areas of the industry. In the entertainment industry, we are not just doing local products, but we also have a big international market, right? And one of the things that I never I never took advantage of, but I could basically move my career somewhere overseas and see how that market works. So that's something that I probably would enjoy, and probably having the right connections and knowing the right people would have taken me in that different direction. So yeah, if there's something that I would like to know before I got into it, is build a network right from the scratch and try to partner up with someone that will guide you in the right directions.
And how do you find someone to kind of be a mentor for you?
Ask questions. People like to talk about their careers. People like to talk about themselves. I find it like fascinating when I kind of like go to my boss's boss and ask him questions. They are open to answering those questions. And they enjoy that, right? And the more questions you ask, trust me, they are more than willing to go out of their way to put you in the right spot.
Yeah, because not a lot of people ask those questions,
Yeah.
right? People just
Yes.
assume. So be the one to ask the questions, build that relationship, and it can be something organic that kind of comes about, or you can ask for that formal, will you be my mentor? And again, people like to help people. So
Yes, people love to help. If you are at the beginning stages of your career, trust me, people will go out of their way to guide you, to make sure that because you got to remember, this is a two-way street, right? If I hire the right talent, I want to make sure that this individual sticks around the longest, right? Because we're going to be making a big investment in your career, and we want to keep you around. We don't benefit from you coming into Sony, theatrical, and be there only for 1, 2, maybe 3, 4, 5 years. We benefit from you being there 10, 20, 15 years, because the more you grow, the more knowledge you have, and that knowledge is what makes you valuable.
Hmm.
especially within the industry.
Definitely, definitely. So ask those questions, kind of build those relationships, is really important overall.
Correct.
Um, are there any kind of final questions that any students have in the chat? You could just chat them in, or you can even unmute yourself and ask if you wanted to. But the final question that I'll ask you from my end is just what's one piece of advice you would give to someone who wants to work in the entertainment industry? Just that one piece of advice that they need to know.
That one piece, I mean, I don't want to sound redundant, but yeah, your network, and where does your network start? Well, some of you have already approached me on LinkedIn. I'm more than willing. And if you go to my LinkedIn page, there's going to be a lot of individuals within the industry in there, and you can work that way, right? Um, you guys may have my phone number, my emails. Shoot me an email. Send me a text message. Ask me any type of questions. I'm available. I have a friend of mine is actually going through the MBA program right now. He works in the industry. Some of you may know him. Reach out to him, and he'd be more than willing to, network with you. So that key piece of advice is build your network, nurture your network. Trust me, I have friends who I established friendships 25 years ago, and we are still, helping each other out, and letting each other know what's going on. Because knowledge is key, right? They may be exposed in different areas that you are not, but it may actually have an impact in your career.
Yeah, and I think like you bring up a good point. We talk about it all the time in career services, just the power of networking. And I think a lot of people, just want to apply online, like they don't want to put in the work to network, and it won't help them overall. And I think especially nowadays, like networking is even more key. So
Or
it's great for the students that have joined this webinar, that if they are able to connect with you on LinkedIn, and
Mhm.
again, ask those questions or have those conversations, or see who you can connect them to. It's again, I can't stress that enough for students, is doing these informational interviews,
Yeah,
getting to know our alumni and just people in the field overall.
correct. I went to Cal State Long Beach, and every time I see a resume from Cal State Long Beach, I say, that's a great candidate. No matter what anybody says, that's like the number one candidate. And he or she is always going to be ahead of the pack. So keep your network, build that network, and nurture the network.
Yes, definitely. So good advice. It looks like we are getting another chat in. And someone was wanting to know, what is your best contact info? Is it best to reach out to you via LinkedIn, or is something that people can email me and I can share your email with them if that works? Or
Yes, yeah. I actually respond quite a bit to LinkedIn. In as a consultant, we put our information out there so people can reach out to us, and we can network. That's just one area that we like to network. And within my area, I'm constantly getting messages, and I'm very actively responding to a lot of those messages. So that's one area that you can always reach out to me, and I always pick up I always respond back. And if you have a specific, let's say I have individuals that are asking about specific jobs within Sony, I can always reach out and try to, talk to someone within my organization and see if I can put you in contact with the right hiring person or the hiring manager.
yes, so LinkedIn, if you don't have a LinkedIn, you need to create one. You need to be active on there, have a good
Yes,
profile.
yes, that's key.
That is
Good
something that
picture too.
a good picture, yeah, that's something that we can help you with within
Yes.
Graduate Business Career Services, or the Career Development Center can help you with a LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And I think I found you on LinkedIn, so that is, again, shows the power of LinkedIn, and saw
Yeah.
your profile and thought that you'd be great to speak with the students. So if you need help with that, but LinkedIn sounds like it's the best way to kind of connect with you overall.
Yes. Yes. very
Perfect.
active and I'm very responsive to messages.
Awesome. Well, I want to give a big thank you for being here today and sharing your experience and being open to helping our students and just being a really proud alumni of Cal State Long Beach, seeing that you get excited when you see the students apply. So
Oh my
um,
God.
it's crazy. We have alumni everywhere. So and if you are able just to give us your feedback about our alumni career talks, I put into the chat the evaluation for the webinar, as
Okay.
well as wanted to let you all know that we do have another webinar on March 11th, where it's going to be about project management. So if you have an interest in project management. But thank you again to everyone. If you have any questions, feel free to stay on the line, and you can chat them or mute them, or not mute them, chat or put yourself off mute. But thank you again, Jose, for sharing your experience. We really appreciate it.
My pleasure, and thank you for having me.